Sorry, I'm
wanna...
very nervous. I don't know what's happening.
You're good. You're good. I'll talk to you about what's going on.
Like I said, all they did was they pulled me out of my classroom, told me someone filed against me on DCF, and that they would. And my principal told me, I'll give you a call tonight when I find out more information.
And then she didn't call?
She didn't call me.
Okay.
And then the next morning, I came in and to meet with her before I started my day, and to see like what was going on, if I was going back into my classroom or what have you. And she said, you know, we're releasing you from your probationary contract. And I said, well, what did I do? Like, what did I do? Because I didn't do anything. So what is being said? And she said, I can't tell you anything. And that's how it was left. They wouldn't tell me if DCF accepted it. They wouldn't tell me if I was being investigated. I know nothing. I
got you. You're not under arrest. The door's right there. Obviously, you know, you came in here to figure out the allegations. I came in here to tell you about the allegations, okay? So you were employed at the elementary school as a teacher?
Yeah.
What job title did you have? Was it?
It was ESC.
After discussing the events leading up to her removal from the school, investigators begin looking into possible issues involving students. Establishing whether earlier concerns existed may help clarify key parts of the investigation.
Do you recall ever having any issues with any of the children? Like, what were the, I mean, I'm sure you had issues that you faced dealing with special needs students and...
I honestly, my issues were more with the teachers than the students.
What issues did you have with the teachers?
So when I first walked in, there were a lot of things I saw as a teacher weren't good practice. And I was trying to, and I had stated this to both the previous principal and the one that took over for her, was that I was trying to change things without coming in like a rhino, because there's 3 of them and they've been there all year and they've been trying to keep their heads above water.
Set in their ways.
Right? And I just wasn't, I didn't want to come in as the new person and make everybody upset and try to be like, hey, you're doing this wrong, right? Like, that's not the kind of relationship I was trying to build with them. And so I was trying to just like, and I was, one of the things I had specifically talked to the principal about is they were punished for having accidents. Like, I had a little girl who was potty training, and if she had a bowel movement accident on the playground, they literally put her in a timeout. For, like, I'm like, that's a bodily function. Why are we punishing children for a bodily function?
Yeah.
I have another child who was supposedly potty training, but mom wasn't sending in the underwear and stuff like that, I guess. And so they were just letting him go commando all day and having put nothing on him. And I said, okay, well, that's not good practice either.
Yeah. We
need to make sure he has something on. If he's not wearing underwear and mom hasn't sent him pull-ups, if she's sent him diapers, we just have to keep in contact with mom and let her know. If you don't send in underwear, he has to be, we'll still potty train him, we'll still send him to the bathroom, we'll still do all of those practices, but we can't have him not wearing anything under his clothing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I'd spoken to mom, she was fine with that, and then one day he had a bowel movement in his diaper, and they put...
If you only watch this clip for the first time, many people would think they already understand what is happening. That is a completely normal reaction, because the human brain always tends to take sides very quickly, especially in emotionally chaotic situations. Whoever cries more, whoever speaks more softly, whoever looks more panicked, we almost automatically view that person as the victim. But the terrifying thing about many high-profile cases is that the feeling of, surely I understand it all, often surfaces before the truth is revealed. And at this point in the story, it is still far too early to conclude anything. Because in criminal investigations, emotions are not the most reliable thing. An innocent person can react in an extremely chaotic way, but someone who is trying to hide something can exhibit the exact same behavior. That is why the police don't just listen to testimonies. They observe the sequence of reactions, the moments of silence, the way a person evades details, or the speed at which their emotions shift when questioned deeper. Many investigators call this the narrative control phase, meaning the moment a person unconsciously tries to shape how others perceive the case. And sometimes, the person who controls the narrative best in the first few minutes turns out to be the very person who misleads the investigation for the longest time. That is also why the further you watch this case unfold, the stronger the feeling becomes that the real story is far more complex than it appears on the surface.
I'm in a timeout. And I was like, that was super, like, to me, I was like, that's just not good practice, right? So I went to the principal and I said, how best do I address this without coming off like a power-hungry new person? And so she was like, okay, try this, this, and this. And then I ended up doing it, and I told them, I said, listen, we're going to try, rewarding,
good behavior.
We're going to try rewarding for the desired behaviors. I don't like labeling it good and bad, but the desired behaviors, right? Like what we do. Like, this is what I want you to do. When you do it, you can have a Skittle, you can have a goldfish, just one, like Skittle, goldfish, whatever, versus the reactive punishing, right, with the timeouts. If, the kids were doing something that they didn't like, they would just throw them in a timeout, and they would, literally face them towards a wall and say, stand there and stare at the wall. And I was trying to, like, slowly change those aspects of, no, like, we want to help them learn what we want them to do and keep them engaged versus constantly being like, no, we're not doing that. Go in a timeout. Sit in the chair and face the wall. Don't look at the screen. Like, my perspective was, well, no, if they need to be separated from the group because they're not doing what they need to do or because they're not being safe, have them take a little bit of a break. But if they want to, do the activity, like do the movement break or do the whatever that's on the smart board, and they want to do it over there, that's fine. There's no reason that we need to be children because they don't want to stand in a big group and do it. They can do it from over there. If they want to listen to the book over there, or if they want to play with, a quiet sensory toy, although they're not staring at the book, there's a chance they're more than likely still listening. They just are focusing on whatever it is that they're doing. Like, I was trying to introduce those flexibilities, and I was having a hard time getting them to change their mindsets, I guess is a good way to say it.
What followed was a detailed explanation of classroom control strategies and student behavior management. As more was said, inconsistencies in disciplinary practices became increasingly visible.
Did you ever have any students that didn't want to participate in Circle to like the same that the other students were participating? Like they might not have wanted to do the songs or dances or any of that stuff?
I'm sure they did. Usually I would dance with them. I had a couple of kiddos that I would just, like, I have one little boy who was nonverbal. He just kind of made noises. He liked to jump, so sometimes I would hold his hand, and he would just jump. I did do, like, because we were trying to get them to learn how to do certain movements, like clapping and stuff like that. So I would just, hand over hand, and he'd dance with me or whatever. And I did it with another little girl. She thought it was great. She was laughing. We would just do hand over hand, and she was dancing with me. Any of the kids that were participating, I usually gave them either a Skittle or a goldfish for just doing their job. And some of them didn't want to, and the other teacher would tell them to go sit in a timeout, sit in a chair, don't look at the screen, turn around, stuff like that.
Did he ever, not want to participate, like kick you, throw his head around, do anything like that?
No, he was a headbanger.
Okay.
And so he did that on a daily, and he never did it to me.
Okay.
But like,
when he
was mad, he would just regularly bang his head on things.
Okay.
And we would just go like this and just say, nope, all done. And you know what I mean? Like, I don't want him to just like sit there and keep banging his head. But
because that's a method to keep him from hitting.
Yeah. Like we would just so he's not like, because he would bang his head on tables. He would bang his head on metal cabinets. He would bang his head. But that was just something he did. And when I walked into the room, that's what they told me he did. Okay. And I said, well, how do we handle that? Like, I don't.
You don't know. I don't
know what to do with that. And she was like, oh no, and that's what Lexi told me. She said, no, we just try to stop him, and then, if he does it and he like ends up with a red mark, we just send him down to the nurse to document it and just let them know. I mean, she said his mom's well aware that he does it, and I was like, that's super concerning to me because I'm terrified someone's going to blame me for that. But okay, that's what you say, and so. Did
you ever have any kind of disciplinary issues? Like, was she having behavioral problems?
No, never. She's the sweetest little girl ever.
Okay.
We did have mom had called shortly after I started with concerns. I guess there was a in her arm, but I wasn't sure how she did it. She said one of the other kids bumped into her, and I never saw it, and I never saw the bruise, so I couldn't attest to who, what, when, or how. And she never came up to us to tell us that somebody had hurt her. There was a huge concern, I guess, with Mom and the diaper changing, because Mom was actually marking the diapers, because I guess she was potty training, from what I was told, and they weren't changing the diaper. And when I asked them about it, Lexi told me it's because she never wets the diaper at school, and so they don't change a dry diaper.
The most dangerous thing in these types of cases is often not the screaming, but the moment everything suddenly becomes too quiet. That is what makes many domestic violence experts especially vigilant, because when human emotions are pushed to the limit, the brain sometimes does not explode immediately. It shifts into a compressed state. On the outside, it remains calm, still able to talk, still controlling facial expressions. But inside, everything is spinning out of control very quickly. And the terrifying thing is, the people around them often don't realize it. They think, everything must be fine now. At least the two of them are no longer arguing. While in reality, many cases in the US show that the most dangerous phase turns out to be after the emotional climax has seemingly passed, especially when there is alcohol, jealousy, personnel insults, or the feeling of being cornered for too long. Many investigators describe this state as a pressure bomb. The calmer it is on the outside, the more unstable it is on the inside. And with just one very small detail, everything can change completely in just a few seconds. When looking back at the timeline of this case, it is clear that the warning signs had already appeared beforehand. But the problem is, when people stay too long in a tense relationship, they begin to view dangerous signs as normal, until something no one thought would happen actually happens.
They ask her if she wants, because she's potty training but she doesn't like to go. So if we would say, do you need the bathroom? And she would say yes or no. And if she said yes, she would just go in, try, do her thing. And if she said no, we just let it go. We would just check the diaper to make sure it was dry. If it was dry, we didn't change it. But she held it all day long. And so when she got into the car, when Dad picked her up, she would soak through the diaper. So that's why Mom and Dad were concerned. And so I had spoken to my principal about it, the second principal, Miss Walls, about it. We had these papers that I guess they were supposed to be filling out all along, predating me, that they weren't doing. And the principal before Miss Walls, Miss Kinley, didn't realize they weren't doing it. So when I started, she asked that we start doing it, and we did.
So help me understand, because the information that I got as it regards to the incident with this was how it was told to the school was that was wrapped in her blanket on the floor, right?
On the floor?
She was on the wrapped in her blanket, and she was like you said, she was apparently it was so that everybody heard it even through the concrete walls, so I can imagine.
I know, she was
100%. And somebody observed you with your on the side of her holding because her head was moving around. And
that never happened.
She was.
I never held. When she was on the mat, she was kicking the blanket off. The blanket was never even on it. The only time I had her, I did put the blanket around her when I was trying to rock her, and she was sitting and she was sitting. So what I did was I just let her sit in my lap, and I I didn't even know where my hands were, but I wasn't her as she was just flailing around, and then once I just placed her on her mat, and my hand was on her, I was trying to rub her back, so my hand was on her back. I never touched her.
At any point during your interactions with him, and I know you described helping him with moving his hands.
Right. It was like a clapping thing. So what he was doing is he'd stand in front of me, because sometimes he would just kind of stand there and make noises, and we were just my goal was to try to get them to be active, engaged.
Mm-hmm.
So the wake up thing was like stretch here and then over to the side, stretch, go over to the side, and go like this. So like I would just hand over hand with him. Like, oh, let's program, let's just stretch. Put your hand up, let's stretch. And his hands were kind of just loose in my hands. In no way was he. He wasn't trying to get for me, and if he did, I would just let him.
Do you think at any point with that the way that you were holding his hands could have caused any irritation or anything? Okay. Is there any reason that he would say that his teacher and like showed that like that?
No, I never touched Angel.
Did you ever have any attention problems with her? Like any issues with getting her to focus on like a TV screen or anything? Did you ever have to? Did you at any point with any or with did you ever put your hands like this and kind of like the TV if she wasn't paying attention?
No. So on occasion, so when you're talking to them, and this is something that when I was in Massachusetts, this is something that ABA teachers did, where you just put your fingertip like this on, like you don't like when they're not on their head. It's just like this, so that like they can't. So when you're talking to them, they're looking at you, and you just say, look, look. And then when you would get their eyes, then you would talk to them so that you make sure that they're focusing on you. But it's not like this. It's not like this. It's just like, and I don't even touch their head. It just blocked their vision on either side.
To get them to focus
on you, yeah. I mean, there's on occasion, there's a possibility that I would go like this and go, hello, hi. To focus up here to get their attention. But anytime, this was just to talk to them so that, like, it was just so, do you mind if I do it to you?
There was another employee of the school who had reported that you were observed, like, leaned over and, like, enough that they were able to hear it from their classroom or the other side of the classroom about,
I honestly tell you that's a bold-faced lie because that curtain was always closed. They are never even over on that side of the classroom.
Is there a window or something somewhere in the classroom? There's a window
and there are curtains, and the only time they open them is to give them out to lunches. They close those curtains all day long.
Okay. Allegations came from DCF. I have spoken with who was present.
The internet has a very strange habit after every high-profile case, which is that almost immediately, people will try to find a villain, someone to blame, someone to hate, a face to represent evil. Because that is much easier than accepting that real life is sometimes extremely chaotic, especially in cases involving relationships, personal conflicts, and emotions that drag on for months. There isn't always someone who is completely right and someone who is completely wrong, but the internet usually doesn't like those gray areas. It wants to reach a conclusion very quickly. A short clip, a piece of body cam footage, a few lines of text messages, and after just a few hours, millions of people already believe they know the whole truth. But for investigators, things don't work that way. They don't just look at the last few minutes. They reconstruct the entire timeline. Who was the one to escalate? Who tried to leave the situation? Who changed their testimony? Who is trying to build an image in front of the camera? Who showed abnormal psychological signs before the incident? That is what makes many true crime cases controversial for years. Because the deeper you dig, the harder it is to reach a simple conclusion. And in this case, there is a feeling that the real truth does not lie in the final moment, but rather in everything that had built up beforehand, long before the camera started rolling.
When was having the issue in the blanket, I'm assuming from the way that it describes it, it's probably the same person that you're talking about that stopped in and asked if you were okay. She has provided a sworn statement, right, that has described how was on with the blankets held around her arms and legs. Issue is that part of that statement also includes that and that it was during this time.
Right.
That's why I'm trying to figure out if there's any reason why she would be very clear and specific on what she saw.
There's no way that that's possible because she kept getting off her mat, so she wasn't. There was no when I first.
It was apparently a blanket or something that was restrained around her.
There was a blanket on her, but I had wrapped the blanket under her to like kind of cradle her and try to rock her. And then when that wasn't working because she was flailing, I just put her on her mat. I never wrapped the blanket around her so she couldn't move. I mean, unless it was when I put her back on the mat, it was still over her, so it appeared that way. I never, like, you know what I mean? Like, I did not wrap it under her, and I never. So I don't understand why that teacher is saying that.
Okay. I have 3 different employees of the school that have all stated that those allegations that I provided to you and told you about happened, and the manner in which they happened appeared. So at this point, you're going to be placed under arrest. I can only go off of the witness statements, okay, and from what they've described and what they've observed. This has been, I've spent the entire day speaking to parents, speaking to employees of the school, and your version of events is separate.
But the 3 teachers that you talk to are like, if they're the 3 teachers that I think they're best friends and they will do anything for each other.
Just help me out here, and I'm not saying this in a way that I am trying to like accuse you, right? I'm just trying to understand. What reason do they have to collude against you? Wait, what is your thought on that?
I don't know. But there's Lexi, Taylor, and then the substitute teacher. They are all best friends.
Okay.
I did not do those things to them. And I have no way to, I have no one on my side to say that I didn't. Because the people that work in that room are best friends.
I have 3 school employees who were in the same building, were in the area to observe these things, and they're advising and providing me with information that is similar to, but separate from, the manner in which you're telling me you're treating them.
Saying I did something that I'm saying I didn't.
It's not just one person, though. It's 3 separate...
But there's nobody else that can attest to that thing because there was nobody else there. It's her word against mine.
And I understand that. However, she's providing a sworn statement saying that she observed
but I can provide a sworn statement too saying that I didn't do it.
And I understand that. However, that is a problem that has to be addressed with the judicial system, and at a law enforcement level, there's probable cause for your arrest based upon that, as it fits the statute for based on her statement and based on the description of the events and how they've occurred, as well as that in conjunction with the testimony of 2 other people who are explaining other. Okay?
But I didn't do any of those things. I don't understand why they're saying that I did those things.
And again, I want you to know that I come into this as a neutral party to investigate and gather evidence, okay?
But now I can never teach in a school ever again because I've been arrested for this.
The officer broke down how consistent accounts from staff shaped the direction of the case. The discussion centered on how those statements justified moving forward with charges.
So, is like I was explaining to her, okay, is based upon the totality of the investigation, the evidence that's been provided, the statements that have been provided, okay? We have probable cause for her arrest. It's not she is guilty. It's not, we're not, we're the fact finders to probable cause, right, of arrest, and that's where we're at this point, is we have the probable cause based upon the statements that were provided. The validity of the statements, right, in her opinion, they're false.
They are false.
And again, I have to go with the testimony that I'm provided and the information that I'm provided and the evidence that I was provided with and the statements that I was provided with has led us to the development of probable cause. Evidence? So, and again, I'm not going to get into every aspect of the investigation. That's something that's going to be developed down the road and found in discovery and things like that, okay? Because it's still an active criminal investigation.
Okay. All right, man, go ahead and place your hands behind your back. Alright, you guys are all finished up. She doesn't have any questions for you or anything like that? We're good. Okay, ma'am, come with me. My car is right here.
So many people being.
Here's your...
Munchie, come here. Come here. I will get you out of here. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I know you didn't do anything. This is ridiculous. Moving back to Massachusetts.
Okay. Go ahead and have a seat for me.
The free state of Florida.
If you put your butt in the first... Okay, you got it. Awesome.
Irony is present, I can
see. 12 years in the Massachusetts teaching education. Nothing.